And I ask Allah to make this easy for me and for you. We are continuing in this Aqidatul Ghazali, this creedal document by Imam al-Ghazali that some people call it Qawa'idul Aqaid. And there was just something I meant to point out to you before. From the beginning, when we started, and al-Ghazali, rahimahullah, said, Alhamdulillahi al-mubdi al-mu'id. Praise be to Allah, al-mubdi, al-mu'id, the starter and the reviver. And according to the details we explained, now I'm just doing light translation to bring something to your attention. Praise be to Allah, the starter and the reviver, or the starter and the restorer. Praise be to Allah. Alhamdulillahi. Lillahi, praises for Him. Al-Mubdi'i. Al-Mu'idi. So the praise is for Allah. Al-Mubdi, the starter. The praise is for the starter. Al-Mu'id, the restorer. The praise is for the restorer. The praise is for Allah, the starter, the restorer, the doer. Al-Fa'ali. The praise is for the doer of whom He wills. The Al-Arshi, the owner of the Arsh, the owner of the Arsh, praises for the owner of the Arsh, etc. And all these descriptions of Allah are referring originally back to following this name of Allah. Alhamdulillahi, al-mubdi'i, al-mu'idi, al-fa'ali, the al-arshi, al-hadi, al-rashidi, etc. Al-mun'imi, praise be to Ar-Rashidi, the guide. Al-Mun'imi, praise be to the endower. Like that. So I meant to point that out to you. How those are grammatically following this very first one up here. Lillahi. And last time we covered this paragraph about Al-Hayatu Al-Qudrah. Before I forget. Al-Ghazali said right here, بل العرش وحملته محمولون بلطف قدرته. By the lutf of His power. So this word lutf, I don't know the explanation for it. The lutf of His power. I don't know what did Al-Ghazali mean by it here. So lutf originally in Arabic language means softness, gentleness, subtleness. So I don't know how to explain that according to this linguistic meaning in reference to His power. So just to draw your attention to that. To the lutf of His power. I said sublimeness, which means the greatness. But after reviewing, I don't know what it means, actually. And I asked and didn't get an answer. So, that too. Then we covered this paragraph here about the life and the power. Life of God and the power of God. And Al-Ghazali went from there. He said, وَأَنَّهُ تَعَالَى حَيٌّ قَادِرٌ. He is, exalted is He, alive and powerful. Alive, powerful. Jabbarun qahir, etc. And he kept going. And at the end of the paragraph, he said, لا تحصى مقدوراته ولا تتناهى معلوماته. لا تحصى مقدوراته means the subjects of His power are unquantifiable or unlimited. And then وَلَا تَتَنَاهَى مَعْلُومَاتُهُ, and that which is known to Him is not limited, does not have an end. There is no limit to what He knows. And I pointed out to you that this whole paragraph here under the title of Life and Power, is all about Allah being alive and powerful, including Al-Jabbar, this name Al-Jabbar, according to the context that Al-Ghazali put this in. He's putting it under the attributes of life and power. Al-Jabbar, you review its interpretations. And he went on talking about the power of Allah, the life of Allah, and the creating of Allah, which refers back to his power, according to the Ash'aris. Until he said that that which is under his power, those things that are under his or subject to his power, are not limited. And then he said, before the next paragraph about knowledge, before getting to the next paragraph about knowledge, he said, لا تتناهى معلوماته. What is known to him does not end, does not come to an end or have an end or a limit. It's not limited. I pointed out to you that now here he mentioned knowledge before he got into the paragraph about knowledge, while still in the paragraph about power and life. That's all I said to you. I didn't critique whether he should have or he shouldn't have. I just pointed out the fact to you. Yani, looks like if he wants to talk about knowledge, then he could save this sentence. وَلَا تَتَنَاهَى مَعْلُومَاتُهُ. Looks like he could save this sentence for the next paragraph where he's going to talk about ilm. Is there something then? Is there anything that links this sentence about his what's known to him being unlimited to anything else in this paragraph? Yes. The previous sentence, لا تحصى مقدوراته. The subjects of his power are unlimited. وَلَا تَتَنَاهَى مَعْلُومَاتُهُ. And the subjects of his knowledge are unlimited. So there's common meaning here. What is that common meaning here? That common meaning is not about God's power, and it's not about God's life, and it's not even about God's knowledge. Rather, this common meaning here in this last line here, from la tuhsa all the way to the end, there is something which is what's called at-ta'alluq. At-ta'alluq. Yani, in these last two sentences here, Al-Ghazali mentioned the limitlessness of the pertinence of God's attributes. The limitlessness of the pertinence of God's attributes. What does that mean? It means sometimes God's attribute pertains to something, like power pertains to what is controlled, knowledge pertains to what is known, hearing pertains to what is heard, seeing pertains to what is seen, speech pertains to what is mentioned. This is called in Arabic ta'alluq, ta'alluq, pertinence or relevance. Power is relevant to what is under power, what is controlled. Knowledge is relevant to what is known. Hearing is relevant to what is heard. This is called ta'alluq. So in these last two sentences here, Al-Ghazali drew attention to the limitlessness of the pertinence of the attributes of Allah. He said, لا تحصى مقدوراته. The things under his control are not limited. Yani, that to which his power pertains, that to which his power is relevant, is unlimited. وَلَا تَتَنَاهَى مَعْلُومَاتُهُ. And although this paragraph is not about knowledge, uh, but he just now mentioned the pertinence of the power, so he talks more about pertinence. And he says that uh, that to which his knowledge pertains also is unlimited. Like that to which his power pertains is unlimited, that to which his knowledge pertains is unlimited. I want to take note here about the pertinence or the relevance. Which attributes have a pertinence? Life does not. God's life is not relevant to anything, with the meaning that doesn't pertain to something. His knowledge pertains to the known. His power pertains to the controlled. His will pertains to what is meant to be, or not to be. His hearing pertains to what is heard. His sight pertains to what is seen. His speech pertains to what is mentioned. That's the pertinence. And any time an attribute of Allah has a pertinence, it is unlimited. The author says, وَأَنَّهُ عَالِمٌ بِجَمِيعِ الْمَعْلُومَاتِ, and that he is knower, alim, of all known things. And that is the same meaning of the previous sentence. لا تتناهى معلوماته هو عالم بجميع المعلومات. The subjects of his knowledge are not limited, and he is knower of all known things. محيط بما يجري من تخوم الأراضين, should be فتحة here, إلى أعلى السماوات. Encompassing he is of whatever runs, means whatever happens, from the extents of the earth to the highest of skies, from the extent of the earth, that's plural, to the highest of skies. He is encompassing of what happens. That means by knowledge. Muhit. Allah Ta'ala has an attribute called ihata, and therefore he is described as muhit. Ihata in the literal sense means encompassment. That means surrounding. For Allah, how does that mean something befitting? It means something befitting when it refers to knowledge, not to location, not to comparison. By knowledge, he is encompassing. That means he knows everything. Even what does he know? He knows every single breath of the people of paradise and every single breath of the people of hell, though those breaths are never coming to an end. They shall never come to an end. To say he knows every single breath of the people of paradise and every single breath of the people of hell, those breaths that never stop, that means, in other words, he knows the exact number. He knows the exact number of the unending breaths of the people of paradise and hell. This is, your mind. If that's clear for you, you can't go any further than that. Your mind stops there. محيط بما يجري من تخوم الأراضين. He is encompassing of whatever occurs from the extent of the earth. There are 7 earths. إلى أعلى السماوات, and until the highest of the skies. 7 skies. That's belief of Muslims. That's not the belief of contemporary scientists, that there are 7 earths and 7 skies. Contemporary scientists actually they deny the existence of the sky. What we call the sky, they call atmosphere. And this atmosphere, according to them, is tantamount to being gas, air, yani gas, not a solid object. It's like, according to them, atmosphere means a bubble around the earth. And then in their pictures in science fiction movies, they depict a blue bubble around the earth. When we look up, we see blue over us. According to them, it's just the atmosphere. That's gas and stuff. Looks blue to you. Some of them might say that's the reflection of the ocean. On what? I don't know what they're going to say there. They do say reflection of the ocean, though, although the ocean is not blue. So that's the belief of Muslims. There are some people, they say they are Muslims. Maybe even they were born to Muslim family, but perhaps their families did not take care to educate them about their religion. And then they took on non-Muslim beliefs. So they believed that there's no up and there's no down in reality, and that some people are upside down on the earth compared to others based on the center of the earth. There, according to them, there's no up and there's no down other than using the center of the earth as a reference point. Without the center of the earth being a reference point, there is no up or down. This is not the right belief. And then, according to that, and I talked to a person, and those people like that, they're not sure if hellfire is over them or under them. And they're not sure if paradise is over them or under them at any time. And they think that's science and knowledge. That this is ignorance and delusion and imagination and assumption. The author says, وَأَنَّهُ عَالِمٌ لَا يَعْزُبُ عَنْ عِلْمِهِ مِثْقَالُ ذَرَّةٍ فِي الْأَرْضِ وَلَا فِي السَّمَاءِ. And that he is knower. Not escaping his knowledge is the weight of a dharrah in the earth, nor in the sky. And it appears that Al-Ghazali explains dharrah as the dust particle. According to that, then, he is nowhere, not escaping his knowledge is the weight of a dust particle in the earth, nor in the heaven, or nor in the sky. بل يعلم دبيب النملة السوداء على الصخرة الصماء في الليلة الظلماء. Rather, he knows the crawling of a black ant upon a solid boulder in the black night. The crawling of a black ant upon a solid boulder in the black night. So a black ant in the black night, then you're not going to see it. And this black ant, hidden in the blackness of night, is crawling upon a solid boulder, not a hollow one, a solid one as opposed to a hollow one. If it's solid boulder, then you're not going to hear the footsteps of this ant. So this with its inaudible footsteps and being camouflaged in the darkness of night, Allah knows it in full detail. He's the one who created it. ويدرك حركة الذر في جو الهواء. And he, so if I were to translate this as it appears, Al-Ghazali is saying, he realizes the movement of the dust in the air. Yudrik. He means ya'lam. He knows. So there's some words that we don't usually use for Allah. We usually hear for this attribute, we say knowledge. Al-Ghazali here, in this spot in particular, he's using the word yudrik from idrak, that might be translated as realization. So if that translation fits here, then he's saying he realizes the movement of the dust particle in the air. That means he knows it. وَيَعْلَمُ السِّرَّ وَأَخْفَى. And he knows the secret. And he knows what is hidden. Yani, there is no secret kept from him, and there is nothing hidden from him. وَيَطَّلِعُ عَلَى هَوَاجِسِ الضَّمَائِرِ. And he, so here also Al-Ghazali used this word, اطلع. Ittala'a might also be translated as aware. وَيَطَّلِعُ عَلَى هَوَاجِسِ الضَّمَائِرِ. If that works here, it would be said, he is aware of the what crosses the minds. Hawajis al-dama'ir. Hawajis is khawatir. So khatir is something that crosses the mind. And the dama'ir is the hearts, where the minds are. The heart is where the mind is. Hearts, they are where the minds are, in the hearts. يطلع على هواجس الضمائر. He is aware of uh, what crosses the hearts, or if you want, what crosses the minds, the fleeting matters. The fleeting matters that cross the mind, Allah knows about them. وَحَرَكَاتِ الْخَوَاطِرِ. And the, so very literally here, and the motions or the movements of the involuntary thoughts. The movements of the involuntary thoughts. So there might be a better way to translate that, because the thought is not really going to move. So just because we know that a thought in itself is not a body that would move from place to place, then for him to say harakat al-khawatir, the movements of the involuntary thoughts, that there's figure of speech in there. He knows the involuntary thoughts that come and go. وَخَفِيَاتِ السَّرَائِرِ. And he knows the obscurities of the secrets. بِعِلْمٍ قَدِيمٍ أَزَلِي. With an eternal beginningless knowledge, or by an eternal beginningless knowledge, he knows that. لم يزل موصوفا به في أزل الآزال. He never ceased to be attributed with it in the eternity of eternities. That's what he said there. In the eternity of eternities. في أزل الآزال. It means ever. He never ceased to be attributed with knowledge eternally without a beginning. Interesting. For me, it's like Al-Ghazali pushes this metin to the limits in terms of his expressions. Maybe one would be on the verge of being afraid of some of the statements that Al-Ghazali has. As someone who has knowledge, that is. As someone who doesn't have knowledge, then he doesn't tell the difference. Does nothing sticks out to him. But the way some brothers and sisters are, I could see someone pulling many questions out of this aqidah. Questions that would irk me. لا بعلم متجدد حاصل في ذاته بالحلول والانتقال. He knows them by an eternal knowledge, not by a renewed knowledge, an updated knowledge that occurs within himself by dwelling and relocating. Yes, God's knowledge is not updated. Rather, it's eternal knowledge of everything. Ihata, it is encompassing. Any questions so far?
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah.
My question is this book like the language? It sounds like something I like we took before, maybe Ibn Asakir or was Al Tahawi. It seems like he's using different language, but he's going like deeper in the meanings of some of these attributes. Am I getting that correctly?
Mm. Yeah, I think so. I would say uh, he's saying the same thing they are saying.
Mm-hmm.
And, well, I would say this one is far from Ibn Asakir. Ibn Asakir
Okay.
is most basic. So basic.
Mm-hmm.
Closer to Tahawi
Mm-hmm.
in length, but Tahawi is longer than this. And in the strength of his wording. But even in a way, one might say the wording in this one is stronger in a way. In I say in
Okay.
that Tahawi doesn't use some words that Ghazali is using. It's like Azal wal Azal, eternity of eternities.
Mm-hmm.
There's only Yani. Allah is the one eternal one. So where'd the plural come from? Or some other words he used, like that one I drew your attention to. Lutfi bi lutfi qudratihi, the lutf of his power. What is this lutf? And some other
Mm-hmm.
words that Ghazali uses. This metin is shorter than Tahawi, but I would say just in the strength of its wording rivals Tahawi. I think Tahawi's clearer though
Mm-hmm.
than this is. Uh,
Can
Masha.
I ask a second question?
Yes.
Who's stronger in out of the two? You know who would be they would say is stronger in the language? Because some of these, like when you're saying some of these definitions of, or you're just telling us what these words could mean and what they mean, it sounds very deep. But I get the meaning. Like it makes you kind of makes me put my head back. Like, whoa, that's deep.
Who's stronger in the language? I can't say. Yani, I wouldn't think. I haven't heard. I wouldn't think that Ghazali is stronger in language than Tahawi is. But even if One scholar might be stronger in language than another. It's still possible that the one who is not stronger in language would produce a document that happens to have stronger wording. Because it's
Okay.
possible for the one who's stronger in language to have the goal of producing a document that has easy words.
Ah,
Mm.
barakallahu feek.
Amin wa fikum. These words of Ghazali, they do show uh, the depth of his comprehension of the attributes and the depth of his comprehension of the religious texts and Arabic language. Yeah, without proper knowledge, maybe someone's going to miss a lot of what's in this metin here. And without proper accuracy, maybe someone might have loose translation here that's not the best. This one's keeping me on my toes. Then he said, may Allah have mercy on him. وَأَنَّهُ تَعَالَى مُرِيدٌ لِلْكَائِنَاتِ. And that he, exalted is he, is willer of the existent beings. Yani, created ones, the created existent beings. He is the willer of those, their willer. Murid. Murid is an adjective. So I could say willing also as an adjective, not as a verb. He is murid, willer of al-kainat. Kain means existing thing. Kainat is plural. Existing things, existing beings. He is their willer. And that means he is the one who made them exist one way or another. Mudabbirun lil hadithat, manager of the events. Mudabbir, manager. And his managing is his predestining, his taqdir. Mudabbir means the one who has the attribute of tadbir, managing or management. His tadbir is his taqdir, his destining, which is his arranging everything, how it is, and putting it as it is and making it come out the way it comes out. That's his managing it. Al-hadithat are the events, the occurrences, the happenings. He is willer of the created existing beings and manager of the events. فلا يجري في الملك والملكوت قليل أو كثير صغير أو كبير خير أو شر نفع أو ضر إيمان أو كفر عرفان أو نكر فوز أو خسران زيادة أو نقصان طاعة أو عصيان إلا بقضائه وقدره وحكمته ومشيئته. Nothing runs. Runs here means occurs, happens. Nothing happens in the dominion, the kingdom, the realm. A little or a lot, small or big, good or evil, beneficial or useful or harmful, faith or blasphemy, confession or denial, victory or loss, addition or subtraction, obedience or disobedience, but by his creating, and his destining and his wisdom and his will. So one thing you're going to notice here is how Al-Ghazali mentioned opposites. And not only did he mention opposites, he made them rhyme. So he said, قليل أو كثير, صغير أو كبير. So a little or a lot, small or big. خير أو شر, نفع أو ضر. Yani good or evil, useful or harmful. إيمان أو كفر, عرفان أو نكر. Faith or blasphemy. عرفان, confession, or nukur, denial. فوز أو خسران, زيادة أو نقصان, طاعة أو عصيان. Victory or loss, addition or subtraction, obedience or disobedience. None of it would happen, none of it runs in the dominion but by his creating and his destining and his wisdom and his will. The existence of opposites is evidence for the perfection of God's power. We don't say, like some evil people say, that God doesn't create evil, and that's not an indication. The creation of evil is not an indication of any kind of perfection. And that's due to the short sightedness of their minds. We say, yes, God's creating of evil is an indication of his perfection because it proves that he can create anything. It's not because you don't like something that God didn't create it. Why would somebody think God didn't create something because he doesn't like that thing? Or one would think God didn't create something because that thing is itself bad. Okay, let's say it is itself bad. That's not a proof that God didn't create it, though. So when somebody thinks God didn't create something because it's bad, that's due to the short sightedness of his own mind, the shortcoming of his own mind. Allah can create anything possible, and he does what he wills. لا يسأل عما يفعل وهم يسألون. He is not questioned about what he does. They shall be questioned. Hmm. So Al-Ghazali, he mentioned all these things for us that if it happened by God's will. He says it won't happen إلا بقضائه وقدره وحكمته ومشيئته. It won't happen but by his qada, his creating, وقدره, and his destining. That's qadar with a fatha on the dal. وحكمته, and his wisdom. ومشيئته, and his will. His will, you know it. That's his attribute by which he makes something one way or another. His creating, you know it. That's his attribute by which he brings things into being from nothingness. His destining, you know it. That's his attribute by which he makes things come out with their measure and their outcomes and their arrangements. And what about hikmatihi, his wisdom? His wisdom is his will. Because the meaning of his wisdom is his making everything as it is. The meaning of his wisdom is his making everything as it is. Why does that, why is that what wisdom means? Is that what wisdom means? To make everything come out as it is? Yeah, that is what wisdom means. For God. Uh, oh, well, what does it mean for creation? For creation, wisdom means for one to be able to anticipate. You don't know the future, but you anticipate. And based on your anticipation, you act. You act based on your anticipation so to achieve or avoid something. And then how are you going to know if you were really wise? When what you anticipated came to be and your actions to achieve or avoid worked. So when you achieve something that came down the line because of your anticipation and then acting accordingly, or when you avoid something that came down the line because of your anticipating and acting accordingly, then this was wisdom on your part. You were wise. So that's what it means for creation. This meaning you can't use it for Allah because He's not created. So how could wisdom be explained for God? Then for God it means what's appropriate for God, which then would mean He actually is the one who makes everything the way it is. Everything comes out the way He willed for it to come out, meaning He doesn't make any mistakes. When we describe Allah as Hakim, He is Al Hakim, the All Wise, means He doesn't make any mistake. And everything happens the way He willed for it to happen. Even if the resulting thing is ugly, even if the resulting thing is evil, even if the resulting thing is weak, it still came out the way He willed for it to come out. So He never made a mistake, and everything happens as He wills for it to happen, and therefore He is most wise. So at the end, then His hikmah, His wisdom is His irada, it's His will. And His hikmah is His taqdir, it's His destining. فَمَا شَاءَ كَانَ. So whatever He willed shall be. وَمَا لَمْ يَشَأْ لَمْ يَكُنْ. And whatever He did not will shall not be. لا يخرج عن مشيئته لفتة ناظر. Not escaping His will is even the glance of a looker. ولا فلتة خاطر, nor the passing of an involuntary thought. بل هو المبدئ المعيد بل هو المبدئ المعيد الفعال لما يريد. Rather, He is the starter, that means creator, and the restorer, that means the one who brings creations back after in the afterlife, the one who brings the creations back in the afterlife. Al-fa'alu lima yurid, the doer of what He wills. And you already know fa'al is an emphatic form of or an exaggerated form, a hyperbolic form of fa'il, doer. So it means doer. But the pattern itself has something that doesn't really translate. So if I wanted to translate what's in the pattern, I'd say doer of a lot or frequent doer. And if I didn't want to put that extra thing in there, I'd just say doer, but then something gets lost in the translation. Because fa'al is more than fa'il. Fa'il is doer. Al-fa'alu lima yurid, the doer of a lot of what He wills, or the frequent doer of what He wills. La radda li amri. There is no rejecter or repeller or nullifier of his command, which here is his willing. وَلَا مُعَقِّبَ لِقَضَائِهِ. There is no rectifier of his creating. A rectifier means someone who fixes something. Al-mu'aqqib is like someone who criticizes another. So if you're criticizing someone means you are setting the record straight about something concerning that one. That's your criticism. So, لا معقب لقضائه, there is no one to rectify his creating. ولا مهرب لعبد عن معصيته إلا بتوفيقه ورحمته. And there is no haven for a slave from disobeying him but by the compliance granted by him and by his mercy. ولا قوة له على طاعته إلا بمشيئته وإرادته. And there is no power to obey him but by his will. So that's the meaning of لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله. فلو اجتمع الإنس والجن والملائكة والشياطين على أن يحركوا في العالم ذرة. So, had the humans and the genies and the angels and the devils all gathered just to move something in the world, just to move a dust particle somewhere in the world, somewhere in the universe, had the humans and genies and angels all gathered just to move a dust particle somewhere in the universe, oh yuskinuha, or to make that dust particle still, duna iradatihi wa mashi'atih, without God's will, la'ajazu an dhalik, they would be unable to do so. وأن إرادته قائمة بذاته في جملة صفاته. And that his will is existent by his being amongst the rest of his attributes. Yani, as is the case of all of his attributes. Existent by his being, yani confirmed. Confirmed means existing. قائمة بذاته أي ثابتة لذاته, confirmed for his self. His will is confirmed for his self. That means existing by his self. Yani, he exists, and it is necessary that he be attributed with will. He is eternal, so this will must be eternal. لم يزل كذلك موصوفا بها. He never ceased to be attributed with it, the will. مريدا في أزله لوجود الأشياء في أوقاتها التي قدرها. A willer in his eternity of the existence of things at their times. Yani, yeah, that's nice words there. A willer in his eternity, yani eternally a willer. He has will in eternity. He exists in eternity. He's attributed with will in eternity. That means without a beginning. Willer of the existence of things in his eternity and making those things exist at their times. They don't exist in eternity. They exist at their times. He eternally willed for them to occur at whatever time he willed for them to happen. التي قدرها, their times that he preordained. Like now, we exist in this time of technology. And had Allah willed, we'd be existing at another time. Whether after this time in the future or before this time in the past. فوجدت في أوقاتها, and therefore everything that exists in time existed at its time, at the time in which it was to come into being. كما أراده في أزله, just as he willed for it in his eternity. من غير تقدم ولا تأخر, without any advancement or delay, without coming early nor late. Whatever he willed to be comes into existence when he willed, and it won't come into existence early and it won't come into existence late. Subhanallah. Maybe if you drive, you say, as you see yourself moving from one lane to another between this car and that car. All of that Allah willed for you. Not before, not after. You want to drive faster, you're still not going to get to your destination before Allah willed. You're driving faster just to get there at the time Allah willed for you to get there anyway. بل وقعت على وفق علمه, rather those things occurred in accordance with his knowledge. وإرادته, and in accordance, يعني by the effect of his will. من غير تبدل ولا تغير, without any replacement and without any alteration. دبر الأمور, he managed all the matters. لا بترتيب أفكار, not by some arrangement of thoughts. يعني it means, it's like Al-Ghazali saying, he managed everything without a plan. A lot of people, a lot of Muslims, they say Allah is best of planners. They say God's plan. I think what they mean is what God eternally willed to be. But we don't encourage these words here. To say he's a planner and he has a plan. If these words of Ghazali translate as plan, then means he didn't have a plan. دبر الأمور, he managed the matters. لا بترتيب أفكار, not by arrangement of thoughts, not by the arrangement of thoughts. That's what we do. That's how you plan. You get your thoughts together. You put something before the other, one thing after the other. So this is not how Allah creates. وَلَا تَرَبُّصِ زَمَانٍ, and not by waiting for time. He manages things not by waiting for time. فَلِذَلِكَ لَمْ يَشْغَلْهُ شَأْنٌ عَنْ شَأْنٍ, and this is why no affair distracts him from another. No issue distracts him from another. Yeah, subhanallah wa bihamdi. Yani, the one who knows everything, the one who knows the past and the future. Then, the one who knows the past and he knows the future and he creates, then, yani, really, if you think about that, well, this should blow your mind. It's not something really you can comprehend. Someone might say, how did God know to create us with these hands? Hand like this, the fingers like this many fingers, and the thumb is at this angle, and the pinky is at this length, and the long finger is that long, and it's in that position, and the pointer finger is shorter between the long finger and the thumb. How God knew about that? And then the human being, behold, he can do all sorts of things. The answer is not by how. He knew eternally. There's no how. He knew eternally, and he willed for it to be. He is al-Badir. He created things without an example. He didn't copy the creations from something. Wallahu ta'ala a'lam. Allah knows best. Do you have a question for me?
Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh.
Wa alaykum assalam wa rahmatullah.
My question is in regards to what you had mentioned earlier about the skies
Yes.
and about what the so-called scientists believe
Yep.
about the up and the down.
Yes.
We know that the Beitul Ma'mur,
Yes.
Ma'mun, Ma'mur is above the
Baytul
Kaaba.
Ma'mur. Yes.
Ma'mur is, and therefore the earth does not spin.
Yes.
Yeah, but I can't figure out the teachers over here. They don't talk about it. How is the earth? One teacher mentioned that it's like an egg, but with nothing on the bottom. Only everything's on top,
Mm.
and the sun goes around the earth. But if the sky that, or if what we're looking at when we look up is the bottom of the first sky,
hmm
then where is the moon and the sun?
The moon and the sun are between the earth and the sky.
Hmm. Is there a barrier? For instance, can someone leave the earth? Is it possible to leave the earth?
It's possible. Prophet Muhammad went up into the heavens.
No. Sorry. I meant like in a rocket.
It's mentally possible. I
Hmm.
don't think, yani, with the lifespans that we have now, though, as humans, he's not going to reach the sky before he dies, because sky is 500 years above the earth. I mean, wafikum. And if you want, you say Al Baytul Ma'mur. Yeah, it is above the Kaaba, not merely above, parallel to the Kaaba, parallel. So yeah, these scientists, they don't believe these things. But what's most troubling is Muslims who take after the scientists in this issue. And what's even more troubling is when they argue their arguments and try to explain the Quran in accordance with theories of people who don't even believe in Allah and His Messenger. You say to one of those people, you said you're a Muslim. Don't you know you're not supposed to explain the Quran according to theories of people who don't even believe in Allah and His Messenger? My experience, they don't care about these things. They think that these scientific theories about the earth moving and spinning and gravity, which is a theory, that these are definitive facts. And I recently had a debate with a person. And yani, brought him to a point where, because he claims to be a Muslim, he does not want to say the Quran is wrong. He doesn't want to say it. But it's like as if that's what it's like. He wants to say, if what you say is really in the Quran, then the Quran is wrong. But he wouldn't go there. Why? How I know? Because he refused to explain the ayah. He refused. Told him, tell me, explain the ayah for me. He said, I'm ignorant. I can't explain the ayah. You know I can't explain the ayah if I'm ignorant. I'm not supposed to talk about the ayah if I'm ignorant, right? Yeah, okay, that's true, but you can't talk either. You can't keep talking if you're not going to explain the ayah. Don't say I'm going to talk about this because this is the scientific theory, but you're not going to explain the ayah of the Quran because you're ignorant. This is like he's saying, if that's what the Quran means, like what you say, then it's wrong. He wouldn't say it. And he ended the conversation because it wouldn't go off of the ayah. Don't argue with those people according to theories. Argue with them according to the Quran and the Sunnah. This is what defeats them. You say to
Sheikh,
that person, yeah, go ahead.
I have one more question. So, in regards to the Earth, is it possible that the edge of the Earth is Antarctica? Because
Allahu Alam,
methods
we
said,
don't even really know. That's another thing. They think that they have encompassed the earth. What that they think. So how do they know? They don't really know. They think they do. Isn't it the case that before North and South American continents were discovered, that they thought that they encompassed the earth? They did. Now, even if you take the globe that they have, which do you know which is the biggest ocean according to them?
no,
No.
Sheikh.
Pacific. Pacific Ocean is the largest ocean. Is there something there? God knows. I don't know. I've never been there. But there's a lot of space there they can't even cover. So where's Gog and Magog? Gog and Magog have more population than anyone else. From the time of Adam till the end of the world, there's still more of Gog and Magog than anyone else. Where are they? So many people. Where are they? So they think they have encompassed something without a real proof about it. SubhanAllah. If another continent were discovered, that means they have to change so much. If they would have to retract so much. Do you think arrogant Kafir wants to retract anything? Doesn't want to retract anything. And I mean Wafi. And there are people who they say the earth doesn't move. I'm not even talking about being flat, which we learned. We didn't learn that the earth is flat, but we did learn that it does not move. There are people, non-Muslim people, who believe the earth does not move, and they made lots of videos about those things. They have lots of arguments about those things. This movement here is like blackballed from the internet. Any almost any like platform will just remove their content. Like YouTube, they're going to remove your content. You put that on YouTube, they're going to take it off. Although on YouTube, you could put people getting murdered, but if you argue that the earth is not moving, they're going to take off your stuff. SubhanAllah.
Can you tell us their name or their group or something?
Well, I don't have names, but I remember years ago, I actually was going through those videos. They used to be on YouTube. Now if you find something on YouTube like that, if you find video on YouTube about someone arguing that the earth does not move, you share it with me. So I used to like see those videos. People have arguments like, how come if the earth is moving, it takes the same amount of time to cross the ocean back and forth? If you're going, the time it takes to cross the Atlantic Ocean, going from U.S. to Europe, for example, it's the same time it takes going from Europe to U.S., going back and forth. Although the earth, according to them, is moving in one direction. It's like a treadmill. If you go against the treadmill, it's going to take like more time to get to one end. If you go with the treadmill, it's faster because you're going into its same direction. Why it takes the same amount of time go back and forth? And how come if the earth is spinning at certain rate, if I look at a cluster of stars at the beginning of the night, I can come out at the end of the night before dawn and see the same cluster of stars in the same place? And many things. This is not those non-Muslims are saying these arguments. I used to see those. I didn't log their names though, and you don't find them anymore. Even I heard that Sheikh Samir debated with a scientist about the Earth moving or not, and that he debated with the scientist until the scientist had to say, "Well, it's just a theory." And then Sheikh Samir said to him, can you tell me who says other than you? Can you give me information of like scientists, for example, who say contrary to your way? He refused to do so. He would not tell him. Or some of them, they say, for example, how come if the earth is moving, if a helicopter hovered over a spot for, let's say, 12 hours, if it hovered for 12 hours, why it doesn't come down on the other side of the earth? Because it takes 24 hours for the earth to do 360 degrees. So it should then in 12 hours do 180 degrees, should be on the other side. Why it's not on the other side? They have an answer for that. They're going to say, because everything is moving with the earth, you know? It's like all of it's turning with the way the earth turns. And you say to them, but you say that gravity pulls down, doesn't pull to the side. Our stuff got pulled to the side. Is that a different gravity? Well, they might say something, and then that's what you're gonna say. All what you're talking about is theories, not really confirmed. And I'm saying all this to say, where's the real problem? People who are coming from Muslim households and they believe wrong here, as if their families did not teach them their religion, and then they got educated and by Western education and indoctrinated, and their faith was weak, so that they were not willing to submit to the Quran, even if it's very clear. I said to the person, don't you know the hadith that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that the sun goes and sets in the west, and then it goes under the arsh and waits for permission to come back up, and then it gets the permission, and then it will come up from where it set, from where it rose. He didn't say yes, he didn't say no. Probably he did not know though. He's just
Sheikh,
not
say
gonna.
that again, please. I'm sorry. Can you say that again, please?
Yeah, I said to him, don't you know that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that the sun goes? He asked his companion, do you know where the sun goes when it sets? His companion said, Allah and his messenger know best. He said, the sun goes until it sets, wherever it sets in the west. And then it goes under the arsh and prostrates. And then it waits for the permission to come back up. Then it will be given the permission to rise from where it rose before. And then it rises from where it rose. Until, I didn't mention this part to him, but that will happen until Allah makes the sun rise from the west. So I told him, don't you know that? Did you know that the Prophet said that? And the sun goes under the arsh and prostrates and waits? So he didn't say yes, he didn't say no, he tried to change the subject. So I'm not going to let him change the subject. So I brought it back for him. He said, well, you didn't say that the sun disappears. I said, what are you saying? I told you it goes under the arsh. The arsh is over paradise, over the seven heavens. And I told you, the Prophet said, it waits. It waits there until it gets the permission. So he didn't say anything. But he won't stop talking what he's saying, though. So answer me, answer the hadith. I don't know. I'm ignorant. I'm not supposed to talk without knowledge. Okay, you can't keep saying the wrong thing either then. If you're not going to talk, if you're not going to answer the ayah or the hadith, then you have to stop talking about these things. If you insist on talking about these things, you need to answer the ayahs and the hadiths. So he told me, I'm going to stop talking to you. I see you are a charlatan.
Sheikh,
Yes.
pause the eye in the surah one more time, please.
The ayah that I challenged him with is the ayah in Surah Fatir. Now the number of the ayah I don't remember. The ayah itself is إن الله إن الله يمسك السماوات والأرض أن تزولا ولئن زالتا. It means, indeed, Allah holds the heavens and earth from moving. And if they were to move, etc. So when you say if they were to move, means they don't move. He holds them from moving. And if they were to move, then there would be no one who could stop them from moving, is what the meaning of the ayah continues to go. The meaning is Allah holds the heavens and earth from moving, and if they were to move, no one would be able to stop them from moving. So it means they don't move. See, I gave him the ayah. And then he argued with me about gravity. I told him, you want to argue with me about gravity, why we're not flying off the earth? Because I told him the earth's not moving, it's not spinning. If the earth was spinning, when things spin, they throw things off away from their centers. When something spins, it throws things away from its center, doesn't pull something to its center. There's nothing you can produce in existence that spins and draws things towards its center. This is unprovable, unobservable, and you call it science. So I said that to him with the ayah. So what did he do? He ignored the ayah and wanted to argue with me about something spinning and throwing things off, throwing things away, and the meaning of gravity. Ignoring the ayah completely. I told him, with the ayah, you're ignoring the ayah altogether. He said, well, I'm ignorant. I'm not allowed to talk about the ayah. Subhanallah wa bihamdihi. And the hadith is one I just said a few times now about the sun. And there's other proofs too. Yes.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam.
Is it safe for us to say that it seems like science and these people are just saying everything against the religion, the Quran?
Yeah, it is against the religion, not necessarily because they want to contradict Islam, though. Sometimes they want to contradict Christianity too.
Mm.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. MashaAllah. And there was something you said, brother, today. The earth being like an egg. So, all I will say is, we say that no one is upside down on the earth. So, but they're gonna say, yeah, that's right. Nobody is upside down. What do they mean, though? They believe people's upside down. They're gonna say that, but they do believe people are upside down. They're gonna say, yeah, nobody's upside down because it's all relative to the center of the earth. So I'm right side up compared to the center of the earth. And the person on the opposite side of the world, he's also right side up compared to the center of the earth. That's just another way to say they are one of that. Someone is upside down in comparison to the other. Nobody is upside down on the earth in comparison to anybody, and not in comparison to the center of the earth. The sky is overhead. Also, here's a proof for you. Allah tells us that the sky is over the earth, over, above the earth, not surrounding it, above it. So, anyone who looks up and sees the sky over his head means he's not upside down on the earth, because the sky doesn't surround the earth, so that someone who's upside down in comparison to the other would be able to look up and see the sky just like the other one can look up and see the sky. That would mean the sky is surrounding the earth, which is what they believe. They believe that they're not in the sky. They believe in something they call atmosphere. And this atmosphere is gases, not solid body. The sky that we confirm and believe in, they deny it actually. And as a result, they deny up and down. According to them, without regard to the center of the earth, without regarding the center of the earth, there is no way to confirm up or down. That's what he told me, and that's what they will tell you. If he's supposed to be a Muslim, then you tell him, so according to you, hellfire might be over you. That's what I told him. Don't you know hellfire is under you for sure? Not over you at all? Never will be over you while you're on this earth? And he didn't answer that at all. Is that clear? You can follow up if you want to. He actually said, we're not sure which direction paradise is. That part he did say. I told him, how are you not sure? Paradise is above. It's up. And he told me, but if you don't confirm the center of the earth being a focal point, then how do you know which way is up? So that's the confusion. So that's why when someone believes like that, he's going to be believing that he's spinning around and upside down, and that the earth is spinning, yet drawing things towards its center. Everything opposite. Yani, things that cannot be seen, he believes that they are for sure true. And things that can't be proven or tested, he will believe that they are for sure true. And those are the same people who believe that 12 a.m. is the morning time too. Don't believe 12 a.m. is morning time. Still nighttime. Yeah, I remembered something else too. The brother mentioned something about the sun going around the earth. I haven't learned this. What I've learned is that the sun has an orbit, but I personally never learned that the sun revolves around the earth. Rather, what I know is that the sun has an orbit. So that's as much as I can say. The sun has an orbit, the moon has an orbit, and the daytime and the nighttime, these four things, they all have their own orbits. They وَكُلٌّ فِي فَلَكٍ يَسْبَحُونَ. Each one of these four is in an orbit swimming in its own orbit. Uh, yeah. And one more thing. All what we just talked about now about the earth and everything is not, you don't have to talk to new people about this. I know maybe it's exciting and intriguing. It's not important matter of aqidah, more important than the attributes of Allah and belief in the prophets and teaching people the obligatory knowledge. It's not more important than that. And if you talk to some people about it, you might actually turn them off. So even though it's true, doesn't mean you need to say it to somebody. But sometimes you might need to say it so that people don't get misguided. Well, if there's no more questions, then let's stop here.